Okay.
Okay. So again, set your gain control. Use your peak LED as a reference so that you.
But you want it not to where it peaks once in a while, but under the peaking. No peaking.
Try and make it under the peaking. So that means you bring your level up, turn it down after it starts to peak, so that way any explosive or transient signal is not going to cause a solid peak. If it just barely blinks the peak, then okay, because you're probably okay.
The hard part is that nobody gets on their microphone at the beginning of the night like they do later on.
That's very typical. That's why it's
Test
always
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but then when they sing, they're louder than the
project
sound
more.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because you start playing all the instruments together, and everybody starts to project more, like you said.
And those instruments too also feed into the mics.
Right. That's right. So that's again where you don't want to boost your level any higher than your gain. So always try and keep it at the same, no more than the gain or less than the gain.
Okay, now and then once you get that, then you're going to come up here to the main master.
Then the main brings up everything. So basically your level controls are going to be to bring up each microphone or instrument in the mix to balance it out. So just remember, if something is too loud, or let's take it the opposite. So let's say channel 1, okay, so you have yourself here, that's your vocal, Bill, Mel, okay, so let's say you guys are in sound check, or you're playing the first or second song. You notice that your microphone is not as loud as everybody else. Okay, so instead...
And I noticed that. Of course, not everybody runs matched mics either.
True, but... What everybody tends to do is they go, oh shoot, I can't hear myself. They crank this beyond unity gain, which is the opposite of what you should do. What you should do is if somebody is not heard, if you can't hear what's going on, then what you need to do is you need to just take everybody else, reduce them slightly, and leave yours at unity gain. So that if unity gain is set to 5, let's say, because that's where you've judged it, and so you bring your channel level up to 5, and let's say everybody else is up to 5, and unity gain is set properly with your gain control, and you go, oh, I can't hear myself. Well, the proper thing to do is turn everybody else down, and maybe turn this up if necessary, so that you're balancing it from that. Because if everybody else is louder than you, you can't boost yourself. You can do it, but that's where you start to introduce distortion, and that's where you could have a distorted signal feeding.
And this is so hard to do when you're playing.
Exactly. That's why what I always do is that in a rehearsal, you try your best to get the microphone set. Everybody doing check 1, 2. Then we do one test song. Say okay, and let everybody know. Look, we may cut this song off halfway or 3/4 through because I'm clipping or somebody can't hear. Just do half a song up to the maybe first chorus, verse and a chorus, and then find out, okay, who's having problems hearing, make the adjustments, do it again, so that way everybody's happy. So because if you approach it the other way where you're going, oh well, I'm just going to bring things up that can't be heard, yeah, you're going to be battling that all night, and it's just a matter of stopping down and remembering to lower what is already louder to allow what's lower to be heard. So that way you're never ever distorting, and you're never ever gonna...
So if somebody's complaining, I'm not as loud, or I can't hear myself as good as his mic is, then what we need to do is back those other mics down, and then maybe up the main master.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's sort of the proper way to do it if you want to completely eliminate any sort of clipping or distortion.
Yeah,
that way your speakers will last a lot longer and you have a much cleaner
Since
sound.
I started running the in-ear monitors, and by the way, we're all running off of 1.
Oh, you are? Okay.
And we love it.
Cool.
I mean, it's working fine.
I never had any luck with it.
For a long time ago, I ran it, if anybody wants their own separate mix, then they got to get their own transmitter, and receiver. But right now, I did it as a way because we were having some feedback issues, and this damn near got rid of all the feedback.
Good.
So, but the problem was the other night when I thought I was doing it the way you said to do it. I was missing some steps, obviously, everybody started going, I can't hear myself in here now, Harvey.
Yeah.
And I had these just about pegged over.
So here's so
I got what I have right there.
Yeah.
That's your old Carvin.
Yeah. I remember that unit. Yeah.
And this is the. I want to see if you can show me how to get the best volume out of those. This is what I'm using. Mm-hmm. It's not a Carvin headset. Mine busted a long time ago. Yeah. And I can't get any replacements. No. Not unless I look on.
No, and and obviously these may be of better quality than the ones that Carvin was selling anyway. So.
But now, how do I set these? And here's
here's a basic thing I just wanted to check. Both of these are feeding the transmitter, right?
Correct. I got the outs here going to the ins there.
Right. Or these are the outs, these are the ins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only two outputs there are on the back of that thing.
Right. So what I was going to say is that let me take a look at these. Good. Okay. So they are TRS. Great. You've got the balanced cables. That gives you a stronger signal coming in. That's perfect. Now this is a stereo unit. So I'm trying to remember because I haven't used this one in a long time. This is. Let me see. So how are you doing the monitor mixes? So like for instance,
what I was doing and where the guys were saying how wonderful it was, I had, because I wasn't getting any feedback on anything, I figured, well, I can raise my levels up higher.
Sure.
The only problem is I was getting them coming into the red again.
Yeah.
And they were over like this.
Okay.
And these were up pretty high.
Good. Okay.
And again, I'd get some noise. But the clarity on how we could hear ourselves was excellent.
Good.
But now what happened the other night, now I was told, or what I wanted to do is see if you could help me to get the best sound real quick, you know, the best volume, not the sound, but the volume.
Volume,
through the ears.
Okay.
But I was also getting clipping as well. But I think it was coming from here.
Okay.
And I think where I kind of reduced some of the clipping here, I think a lot of it, the clipping here shows that too, right?
Well, if you're
the signal from that would show there too.
If you're clipping your channel here, the way I understand that this works is that the signal comes in here. First hits your gain control here. It's not. This is not supposed to affect it, but again, I'm not.
Now that was another thing too. The guy,
I remember you telling me that
on the keyboard. He was telling me that on his slider he has a Mackie, you know, and he said unity gain is 3/4 of the way up, where it goes to 0
on his,
plus and then minus on his. But I noticed it's that way on a lot of slider, mixers with sliders.
Yeah.
And so he says you need to be up to about at least 7 or 8. On that, he says, to get unity gain on your channel.
But see that it depends, because see, a fader, there's multiple types of faders. There's what are called audio taper faders. There's audio taper potentiometers like this, and the throw on them all work differently. And some of them, as you approach the top end of the fader and the top end of here, you have less of a throw. So in other words, here, as you start to raise it, you hear a very gradual increase. But when you get up higher, the increase is less gradual. It actually is a little
kind of exponentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Hotter.
So it depends. That whatever he said is only true if every scenario is exactly the same. If you're using the same exact microphone, if you're using a mixer that has the same rated type of potentiometer, whether it's a sliding type or a rotary type. But again, this is more important because again, unity gain means that you are not bringing,
Not adding to the signal or taking.
you're not boosting the incoming signal further than what it is presently. So the one way to tell that is that, again, this one, see, that's the stupid thing I don't like about this mixer, is that some of the other ones actually had LED ladders here.
I have this on here to hold a little iPad.
Sure.
Music.
But are there? I don't remember that there were LED under here. I don't think there are.
Nothing.
So
No.
see, that's the thing I didn't like about this.
Right here.
That's what I didn't like about this mixer, is that there are. There's no signal LEDs. On the other versions of the mixer, they had LEDs that would show, as you bring this up, the level, it would show the level on the LEDs, and if you got into the red, then you knew, okay, well, I could bring this down. And that's why you're probably having so much problems, because you have no visual reference other than your peak LED. That's why I'm saying don't raise this any higher than your gain, because we can't see that.
That actually would be unity gain for that channel.
That is the best way to judge it, because we have no LED or meter to give us that indication of whether or not unity gain is at the same knob position or above.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I say don't bring it up any higher than that, because you have no way of judging it. I didn't like this version of the mixer because of that reason. The only other time that you know that you're exceeding either unity gain or the overall signals are too hot is, again, your amp clip lights. So yeah, that's kind of a pain with this board, but that's just the way that it works.
And you did say too that some boards tend to just have a problem with clipping.
Well, they would have problems. We've had problems that we've had to send engineers out, to like venues and stuff that were running Carvin gear, because it's not the mixer part, it's the power amp part, because we would build in clip lights, or we'd build in some sort of protection, because if it's constantly clipping, then it goes into protect mode and shuts off.
We were having this, one of the speakers would pop.
Yeah. Well, that's actual clipping, signal clipping. But what they were finding is that sometimes these venues just didn't have enough power, whether it's enough amperage or enough actual voltage. They were actually under 90 volts coming in, and they're basically starving the power amp.